Hey everyone, this is your stimulus check update, second stimulus check update, and stimulus package update for Tuesday, October 20th. This video is for those of you on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and VA benefits, and for anyone else that's wondering about the second stimulus check and the stimulus package negotiations. In this video, I'm going to be going over the following topic. First off, I'm quickly going to be talking about, for those of you that haven't received your first stimulus check, that you need to contact the Taxpayer Advocate Service. I'll tell you how to do that. The Senate skinny bill. Then we're going to be talking about how Nancy Pelosi continues to get pressure from her own party and from those Democrat sympathizers. Nancy Pelosi recently gave a 48-hour deadline and how we are about to reach that deadline today. And then we're going to be talking about what Lindsay Graham said regarding the next stimulus package and what is the major sticking point that continues to be unresolved, that we are still waiting for to be resolved for the next stimulus package to be met. And last, I'm going to be going quickly over what is expected to be in the next stimulus package. Thank you once again for watching, especially to those of you that have subscribed to my channel. Welcome back. And for those of you that haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload a new video. And if you find this content helpful, be sure to hit the like button so that YouTube will share this video with others. Okay, so for those of you that still haven't received your first stimulus check, you need to contact the Taxpayer Advocate Service. This is a service that's offered by the IRS, and it's a separate entity within the IRS, and it's a free service. But you need to contact them and they can help you track down your stimulus check. So to contact them, go to the IRS website. It's taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov/contact-us. And I'll leave that link down in the description below. And for those of you that don't file taxes, if you haven't received your first stimulus check, you need to fill out the non-filers tool. And if you've already filled out the non-filers tool, you don't need to do it again, and you shouldn't have to do it again if they can reach a deal on the second stimulus check. But if you haven't already, there is a deadline of November 21st to fill out the non-filers tool. So if you haven't done that already and you don't file taxes and you haven't received your first stimulus check, be sure to fill out the non-filers tool. Okay, so for most of you, you're wondering about the second stimulus check and the stimulus negotiations. The main negotiations have been going on for weeks now between Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin. The negotiations include usually a $1,200 stimulus check for those of you that aren't claimed as dependents on someone else's taxes, and a $500 stimulus check for those that are claimed as a dependent on someone else's taxes. But the overall package deal is what they're currently negotiating, because if they can't reach a package deal, there isn't going to be a standalone bill just for stimulus checks. So I'm going to be going over how the stimulus negotiations are going on right now. First off, in the Senate, Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans are expected to release another skinny bill. I'm still not sure why they're even doing this, but they're set to release a skinny bill of about $500 billion, and this skinny bill would not include stimulus checks, but would include PPP funding as well as unemployment benefits. But this skinny bill is not going to pass, probably won't even pass the Senate, let alone the House of Representatives, or be signed by President Trump. So I'm not going to focus on that anymore. But there will be a skinny bill that it sounds like will be voted on tomorrow, and it's going to die, and nothing else is going to happen with it. So let's move on. Last week, Nancy Pelosi was getting all sorts of pressure from both Democrats in the House of Representatives, as well as other Democrats and Democrat sympathizers. So I want to go over a few of these things that they were saying to Nancy Pelosi last week regarding just making a deal with President Trump. First off, Ro Khanna, who you may remember as the co-sponsor of the bill that was very popular, that was going to offer $2,000 stimulus checks to individuals, and that bill obviously did not pass and did not become a law, but Ro Khanna was one of the co-sponsors of that bill. Ro Khanna came out and said regarding Nancy Pelosi taking Donald Trump's $1.8 trillion stimulus proposal, Ro Khanna said, "People in need can't wait until February. $1.8 trillion is significant." So even Ro Khanna, who was proposing that $2,000 per month stimulus deal, is saying to Nancy Pelosi, hey, take this deal. This is not a small offer. This is actually a lot more than what President Obama offered back when he was in power as stimulus. So Ro Khanna is saying, hey, Nancy, take this deal. In addition to Ro Khanna, former Democrat presidential candidate Andrew Yang also simply said, do it. Take the deal, do it. In addition to this, last week, Nancy Pelosi met with Wolf Blitzen on CNN, and Blitzen is a left-leaning Democrat sympathizer. He usually helps out the Democrats that come on his show, and in this interview, he actually kind of grilled Nancy Pelosi and was basically saying, hey, why aren't you taking this deal? This is a good deal. This is a significant deal that's been offered to you. And Nancy Pelosi got very defensive and very combative even. And she was basically trying to defend herself. But when basically her whole party and a bunch of other people are coming after her saying, hey, why aren't you reaching a deal? She got really defensive and really was actually pretty upset. But anyway, despite all the pressure, Nancy Pelosi has not changed her tune. She has stuck to that $2.2 trillion number and has basically said, hey, if I'm not getting these things that I absolutely require, then there's not going to be a deal at all. So that's kind of where we're at right now. President Trump has actually come out and he's reiterated that he said, hey, yeah, we offered $1.8 trillion, but I'm actually willing to go up from that $1.8 trillion and get somewhere closer to that $2.2 trillion number that Nancy Pelosi is asking for. So it's interesting that, President Trump has offered that $1.8 trillion, but he's saying, hey, I'm willing to even go higher than that. Yesterday, Nancy Pelosi's spokesperson, Drew Hamill, said that after the talks between Pelosi and Mnuchin, that the two sides continued to narrow their differences. And also he said that they're going to meet again today. Nancy Pelosi on Sunday, when she was meeting with ABC News this week, Pelosi set a 48-hour deadline, basically meaning that by the end of Tuesday, which is today, she wanted to have a deal done. Otherwise, it's probably not going to happen until after the election. Regarding that deadline, she said, the 48 only relates to if we want to get it done before the election, which we do. But we're saying to them we have to freeze the design on some of these things, and we're going with it or not, and what is the language. Basically, they're trying to figure out the differences that they have and figure out the language of the final proposal that they're going to have. And that with only a few weeks before the election now, that in order for a deal to get passed in the House and the Senate and signed by President Trump before the November 3rd election, that they have to get a deal done by today. Otherwise, it's probably not going to be signed. So that's basically what the 48-hour deadline was that Nancy Pelosi set. So in addition to that 48-hour deadline, she also added, we don't have an agreement in the language yet, but I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic because, again, we've been back and forth on all of this, meaning they've been negotiating this for quite a long time. It does sound like they're getting closer, but we've heard that for weeks, and we've heard that they're getting closer for weeks now. But Nancy Pelosi continues to remain optimistic that they can reach a deal. So as we know from, talking about the skinny bill earlier, many of the Senate Republicans are worried about passing a bill that's very much above $1.5 or even $1.8 trillion. Many of them don't even want to spend $1 trillion. So Lindsay Graham, who is a senator, he actually is not one of those that wants to spend a small amount, but he actually said regarding stimulus, he said they should go big with the next stimulus package. But one of the biggest issues he has with the House plan, the $2.2 trillion plan that Nancy Pelosi in the House of Representatives offered up and passed a couple weeks ago, he said his biggest issue with that is he doesn't want illegal immigrants getting stimulus checks. If they don't have a social security number, then they shouldn't get stimulus checks, especially if they're not here legally in the U.S. But anyway, he said go big on stimulus. So he's one of the Senate Republicans that actually would go along with a plan as long as it's meant, or as long as it's made between Nancy Pelosi and the Trump administration. He's one that would go along with it. Despite the fact that the Senate Republicans have offered that skinny bill and that Mitch McConnell is talking about doing another skinny bill vote tomorrow, he also said that if President Trump agrees to a bill with Nancy Pelosi, that at least the Senate is going to consider that bill. And that's why I think it's actually pretty good. It actually has a chance of passing because senators like Lindsey Graham and there's some others that are probably in election fights right now and trying to actually get reelected. They're going to be more willing to pass a bill if President Trump signs off on it so that it will look good for the reelection chances in a couple weeks. So if they can get a few Republicans on board, then the Democrats in the Senate should also go along with what Nancy Pelosi has said. If it can pass the House and it's approved by President Trump, then I think a lot of the Senate Republicans would probably jump on board as well. They don't need that many of them. The House of Representatives is controlled by the Democrats. The Senate is controlled by the Republicans, but not in a big margin. So they don't need a lot of Republicans to jump on board if the Democrats all jump on board in the Senate. So in addition to some of the other minor differences, the unemployment benefit amount and some of the other issues that they have, the biggest sticking point remains the language for contact tracing and testing for the coronavirus. And Nancy Pelosi has made this a big deal that there has to be a strategic plan as part of the next coronavirus package, or she's not going to pass it. And that's kind of been one of the biggest sticking points on the language of this final stimulus proposal. And it continues to be the case. She said the testing, the tracing, the treatment, the mask wearing, the separation, the sanitation, and all that goes with it. Basically, that's what she wants as part of this next stimulus proposal. Otherwise, she's not going to go for it. So that's one of the biggest sticking points continuing to be is the kind of the strategic plan on how she's used the term crush the virus, but basically to combat the virus and to hopefully get our nation towards recovery of this pandemic. So quickly, what are the things that are going to be included in this next stimulus package? Well, we know that $1,200 stimulus checks should be a part of the next stimulus package. That's something that both the Republicans and the Democrats have wanted. In addition to that, there should be $500 stimulus checks for those that are claimed as dependents on someone else's taxes. In addition to this, there should be money for rental assistance. There should be unemployment benefits. Those would be somewhere between $400 per week and $600 per week. $600 per week is what the Democrats in the House of Representatives have called for, and the Republicans have called for something lower than that, somewhere around $400 per week. In addition to this, there would also be increases to SNAP and WIC benefits, money for schools, money for state and local governments, money for coronavirus testing and contact tracing, as well as other things, as Nancy Pelosi puts it, to crush the virus. There will be, in addition to this, there's some other provisions and other smaller details of this plan that I'm not going to go over in this video. But that's pretty much where we're at. The negotiations, according to Nancy Pelosi, the deadline is today if they want to actually reach a deal that will be signed and become a law before the election. So we'll see if something happens today. Obviously, we've been waiting for weeks and even months now. But if they can reach a deal today, it should happen before the election. And as Stephen Mnuchin has previously said, if they can reach a deal and stimulus checks are part of that deal, which they will be, then stimulus checks could go out within a week of a deal being signed. So anyway, I will continue to keep you up to date. Thank you once again for watching. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again soon.